As I sift through the bowels of cinema, just looking for all of these gross, depraved, awful films that we talk about on a week-to-week basis, I can't help but come across some films that I wouldn't consider the most disturbing things in the world. You know, they're a little disturbing, but they are certainly oddballs. Yes, these are some very, very bizarre picks and pickups that I've made over the last few months, and I figured they'd make a pretty fun list to talk about some gross, icky, weird, strange, and just downright, I don't know what, kind of movies, especially when we get to that number one spot. Good evening, campers, streamers, and babysitters, and welcome back to another recommendation list. Yes, this list is kind of a hodgepodge. You know, there's some movies on here that I think are pretty good, maybe even great. There are some movies on here, however, that are just really, really, really weird, and they just kind of maybe aren't the best films, but they certainly are ones that if you don't know about them, which I'm sure many of you don't, you gotta learn, because these are some very odd movies, and I just want to highlight them. As always, thank you for stopping by the channel. If you are new here and you feel like we deserve it, I'd appreciate it if you could hit that like button to boost us up in the algorithm, as well as hit that subscribe button so we can have you join our community. We are on our way to 40,000 subscribers. Of course, I also want to shout out this video sponsor, that is Tantally. Yes, we'll be talking about them a little later in the video, but hey, I think they are a perfect sponsor to get us through some of these strange, oddball movies. So let's hop right into it, folks, and get on to the list. Kicking things off at my number 5 pick, we have 2023's AGGRO Drift. In this sensual, experimental eulogy by Harmony Korine, spellbinding infrared photography evokes a dreamlike portrait of a tormented assassin. Yes, we are back with another Harmony Korine film. I can't get enough of this guy. You know, again, he's a filmmaker that, love him, hate him, I gotta check out what he's doing next, because you just never know what it's gonna be. And this is certainly very, very strange, very out there, very bizarre. So it fits the title perfectly, because this movie, beyond the cinematography, which we're going to talk about extensively here, is very much just like, it feels like a video game, like a Saints Row or a Grand Theft Auto kind of world, where it's like you have this ultimate, almost demonic, superpowered big kingpin character, and then you have our like would-be assassin kind of, you know, low on the totem pole guy who's just working his way up there. So you get it. You know what's going on. It's a very simple story. But with Harmony Korine at the handle, you know it's going to get a little out there. And yeah, I got to talk about the infrared camera here. I respect it. I respect the attempt. I think you're doing some cool things with it here and there. I just don't think I could sit there and watch an entire movie like this again, because so much of, you know, what this brings to it is just like the uncanniness of everything. You know, there's some really weird, strange, I think on purpose, very low-grade CGI put in this as well. You know, it's funny, it's cool, I can buy that, but it can definitely be a bit of an eyesore after a while, man. I got a little bit of a headache on this one. But if we're here to really talk about truly bizarre, interesting, one-of-a-kind movies, like, there's certainly nothing like this. I mean, again, from the story perspective, it's not the most original, but this does really feel dreamlike. It does really feel like it's coming from another world. And knowing Harmony Korine and just kind of his style and his, you know, approach to filmmaking and what he sees it as, you kind of have to know to expect that. And this one definitely feels like the most like fantasy out there strangeness of his brain. You know, there's no holding back. There's no real way to ground us in like a full-blown reality here. And taking the number 4 spot, we have 2022's Good Boy. Christian, a millionaire heir, meets Sigrid, a young student, on a dating app. They hit it off quickly, but there's only one problem. Christian lives with Frank, a man who dresses up and constantly acts like a dog. Yeah, it's one of these movies. This is certainly This is I feel like we have more of these. There might be some more of these. I don't know, but this is certainly a film that I think a lot of people, when you hear that concept, you immediately go, oh, this is about furries. No, this is not that. This is very different. Very different. Yeah. It's not like, with furries, it's kind of like they want to do that. I don't think Frank wants to be doing this, but we'll get into that. Because, yeah, this movie, I want to say, is probably one of the more pure horror films I have on this list. Everything else kind of dips and weaves into different things. This one, you clearly see the setup. It's got something where you know that this is going to be like a psychological kind of thriller thing. You kind of understand where Sigrid's going to end up. There are a couple of cool twists and turns, so I'll put that out there for you right away. But there is one element to this that I just find so weird, and it's so fascinating at the same time, because there's a real solid attempt by Sigrid, our lead, actress here, to try to normalize what's going on in this movie and what Frank is. And I think it's downright gross for her to be doing that, because she's really only doing it to take advantage of the money and all the situation she's in. But it's also one of those things where it's just like, ooh, that's kind of like sinful. It's a very subtle way of kind of bringing that third act, when we get there, home for me. And I thought it was very, very well done in that aspect. But overall, the movie, you're there because someone's dressed like a dog. You're there because he's acting like a dog. You're there to find out why this is happening, what relationship they share. And it gets really, really intense and weird. We got Frank being locked up in cages, being hit and screamed at, and all these awful, awful things. And then the ending happens, and it just punches you right in the guts, and you're just like, oh, dude, that's great. I love that ending. Good Boy is pretty good. I will give it that. It's a pretty good boy, in my opinion. I think that there's definitely some parts that could have used some, like, sprucing up, but overall, it's a weird movie with an out-there concept that I think, for the most part, really works. And taking my number 3 slot, we have 2021's Mad God. The assassin travels through a nightmare underworld of tortured souls, ruined cities, and wretched monstrosities, foraged from the primordial horror of the unconscious mind of Phil Tippett. Yes, Phil Tippett is a name that, if you don't know consciously, you've seen his work, because this guy has worked on everything from Star Wars movies to Jurassic Park films to RoboCop. He's kind of touched almost every major, like a 80s, 90s gem when it comes to great, crazy practical effects. And he's definitely one of the big boys. And this was a pure passion project for him. So when I heard this was coming out, and, I heard, it was Phil Tippett's movie, I had no clue he was even trying to direct a movie. And I was like, it's stop motion. Hell yeah, let's check it out. So I finally got around to seeing it a few months back. And this movie is awesome. I loved it, dude. Like, this movie's kick ass. Like, yes, is it gross and weird and bizarre? Absolutely. But that's all done with puppets and effects and stop motion creatures, and it's unlike any other weird out there movie I've seen, and it's wholly its own thing. It's certainly a very special movie in that sense, and honestly, there's a lot here as far as just like kind of mind melting, very Doom Eternal-esque kind of hell that this character is walking through. There's many different characters. It's almost like 3 different stories in a way. But there's so much you can pull from just the scenery to the way everything works, how this realm, basically functions. It's awesome. Like, this is pure creativity at its best and its most warped, because again, it does have some very interesting bits. There's some surgery stuff. There's definitely creatures that are like, molded with other things. There's a lot of very out there and unsettling imagery. I could easily see this bringing somebody somewhere some nightmares, because there's a lot of very dark, creepy, gross, mean-spirited in a lot of times energy and imagery in this movie. I don't really think we're ever going to see anything quite like Mad God again, especially done at this level. You know, we might see shorts, we might see inspirations, but this is certainly kind of a one-of-a-kind, you know, one-stop shop here for just the dark, the decrepit, the evil, and the creative. So certainly got to recommend Mad God. It's definitely worth a watch. Relationships can be hard, and for some, one-night stands and spontaneous meetups can be full of risk. That's why today's sponsor, Tantally, has come to the rescue. Yes, folks, Tantally has taken it upon themselves to open up a new world of both passions and pleasures. Made with food-grade TPE material and sporting the softest and most realistic skin textures, Tantally promises to give you an experience beyond your wildest imaginations. Tantally offers 100% discreet packaging and free shipping in over 30 countries. Use our link in the description below and you'll receive 12% off your order when you use code SPLATTER12. Huge thanks to Tantally for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to it. And taking the number 2 spot, we have 2016's The Greasy Strangler. Ronnie runs a disco walking tour with his son Braden. When a sexy woman takes the tour, it begins a competition between father and son for her love. It also signals the arrival of an oily stranger who stalks the streets at night. I knew I would have to talk about The Greasy Strangler at some point, but I could never quite find the right list or right spot to really get it out there. This is a movie I've known about since its inception. I saw the trailer, I sought this movie out, and I finally picked it up on Blu-ray back when I was still working at my used media store job, and I fell in love with it. This is definitely a movie that it's a parody, it's a dark comedy, it's a horror film, it's kind of all of these little pieces of genre that are just, you know, very crookedly stitched together here to bring us a very original, very out there, extremely bizarre movie about a father and a son who are just very weird, awkward men who just both fall in love with this woman, and it's very much a competition to see who can fuck her first. That's the whole thing. That's just what it is, and it gets gross, it gets weird, a lot of grease. Yes, this is called The Greasy Strangler. There is kind of this alter ego to Ronnie who goes out at night almost like a werewolf, and he covers himself in grease and he just kills people, and it's awesome. It's so funny, it's so weird. I love this movie to death. It's one of my favorites when it comes to just, I want to really shock somebody and really just be like, watch this. You've never seen anything like it. And yeah, I think it works for that. I know some of you are going to watch this movie and think that I'm absolutely crazy and that this movie is just gross garbage, but it's my gross garbage. This is garbage that I enjoy, and I can't help that. I don't know. It just kind of hits me in a lot of spots that I don't get from very many movies. There's only like a handful of pieces of really just internet content that really hit the energy that Jim Hosking was able to do with this movie. I think that they cast this thing beautifully with actors who are able to commit and just keep things strange and weird for the bit. And yeah, this is certainly a very rare gem. I hope that more movies come around like this. I don't want it to get oversaturated. I don't at all. I think one every few years is great. But I just like when movies are kind of risky and weird, but also having some pretty deep messages in the movie towards the end. There's a lot to say about relationships between fathers and sons and kind of, where we all fall in that spectrum. Check it out. If there's any movie on this list that I can personally say, I love this, I think many people will, it's The Greasy Strangler. And taking my number 1 spot, we have 2013's St. Bernard. A classical music conductor unravels into the abyss of insanity? I dare you. I seriously, just take my word for this. If you don't know anything about this movie, this is the strangest film ever made. This is very, 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 very weird. I don't know what necessarily we're supposed to get from it. I don't know what this movie necessarily even is about. We have a character who is a conductor who I believe is attempting to get some kind of a job or a gig or something, and you just get to see him go on a day. Everything from finding the bashed in severed head of a St. Bernard on the side of the highway, all the way to fighting, I believe, his original teacher who taught him how to be a conductor, his grandfather, I think, and at one point, maybe, I don't know, it's very unclear, all the way to fighting him with his augments and things. There's nothing like this, seriously. There is nothing like this movie out there. You're never gonna find a movie that can quite encapsulate everything that this movie does. It's extremely strange. It's extremely experimental. We go through so many different versions of whatever this hellscape our character finds himself in. I mean, like, this is truly a fantasy horror abstract art piece. Like, there's nothing here. Like, there are moments where our character will be interacting with somebody and then it's like Tux Paint or Kids Pix. Like, it's like Microsoft Windows Paint just like drawing all over the screen. I don't know why either. Like, there's characters that are trolls that are these very well done, very extremely detailed prosthetics and puppets. There's monsters, there's ghosts, this movie has it all and absolutely just nothing at the same time. It broke my brain is what I'm saying here, guys. I don't know how else to describe it. Warwick Davis pops up in this movie at one point, and he's, interesting. I don't know. It's his part's very weird, but the whole movie's weird. So how do you compare it? How do you even categorize it? I mean, there's seriously nothing like St. Bernard. I know I said that about the Greasy Strangler, but again, there's nothing like that movie either. But again, I think that movie's watchable. I think that movie's fun. This movie is a pure acid trip. I highly doubt there's anything stranger than St. Bernard. And you can watch it right now on Tubi. That's where I watched it. So, yeah, take my word for it. It's fucking odd. Go watch it and then report back, for real. And if you can make some sense of it, please tell me what's going on. And frankly, I had a good time with it. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think below. Seriously, this is the one for the books. Well, son of a gun, that's the end of that. This was very hard to do. I mean, a lot of my notes, I could just tell from the stuff I read and the stuff that I was, just spouting off. There's not much in the way of me being able to say anything other than just how these movies make me feel and how they just really are oddballs. These are bizarre. These are just the strangest bunch of Island of Misfit Toys movies that I could find. I mean, again, these are some of these Aggro Drift and St. Bernard. A lot of people don't talk about these. I haven't seen people really touch on some of these, so I'm excited to introduce them to you. Mad God's a masterpiece. I think that the Greasy Strangler is certainly one of my favorites. You could almost call it a guilty pleasure. So seek some of these out, seek a few of these out at your own risk. And yeah, just tell me more, give me some more weird, bizarre movies. There are a couple more I almost considered, not many. So if we can get some going, I'd love to do more of these. I'd love to talk about the bizarre stuff. It breaks it up from the truly depraved shit. And that's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just, take care of my head a little bit before I dive back down into the belly of the beast and talk about the real messed up stuff. I'm okay. No, I'm serious. I'm fine. I'm not that messed up. I got a system and it's working. And yeah, let me know down below, guys. Again, if you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. I'd hope that you'll hit that like button to help boost this video up in the algorithm so more people will find it. And if you could help us get to 40K subscribers, I would deeply appreciate that as well. But that's it for me. Thank you again to the sponsor Tantally for, helping us get past some of the restrictions and things that might hit this video. And yeah, that's about it. That's going to wrap us up. So until next time, folks, I am Dylan Newell. And remember, stay scared.
Do the hard shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna smash your ass.